Hello and welcome to AmassGames. Today I'm bringing you the top 250 board games of all time, having rated and played over 1650 currently, and this is 70 to 61. So if you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and please hit the like button to let me know you enjoy the content. Check out the comments, I reply very quickly, and check out the description for some of the links I might be putting in here too. So we've talked before about One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and here it is. This, for some reason, is a game I haven't actually given a rating for, which seems a bit odd. Let me just refresh the page and see what's going on with that. So in this particular game, you are villagers potentially, or you're werewolves, or you're something in between. And what you're looking to do, just to let you know, I've changed the fan speed, so there might have been a fan noise before. Hopefully that's gone away, and hopefully we can see a rating kick in here in a second. And this game is by Ted Alspach, who's on other games too. Initial game by Akasia Okoi and Bezier Games, the guys who've really promoted this game a lot. We're implementing One Night Werewolf. So this is a social deduction game which typically only takes 5 minutes to play. And what you're looking to do is, it's definitely recommended at a player count of at least 5. You're playing either as a werewolf team, you're playing as a villager team, and you're looking to try and, if you're the villagers, find the werewolf and shoot them and win. If you're the werewolf, try and munch on the villagers and win by not getting caught. So it's SPIEL.digital's recommended game. It's very impressive that actually obviously got down to that shortlist. I'll just open this up and see obviously what its comparators were. And yes, it's a small box and there's many different variants, many of which I've already spoken about. And it's a game that I do recommend. It's a nice small box, fun art, great different characterizations, and for example we have the seer here, and there's an order in which you'll have these different characters appear in the night, and where people might point at you or you might point at everybody else and try and figure out what's going on. I like to play the robber, who is character 8, whereby he takes something from somebody else, and then it's down to the other person to not know who they are, but I'm now whoever they've become, and I know a little bit more information about myself that way. So I do have a video for this, so that can go in the description, and of course you can click through some of the videos, of course I place it, and there will be a playlist for the top 250 where of course you can check this out too. Now I only uploaded this relatively recently, so I don't expect to be anywhere near anywhere high up on this list. In fact, if we go on here, we can just start looking for my thing Boulder Man, and to be honest, I doubt, oh, this doesn't even to be on here, so yeah, the amount of people who've already made videos, I mean, this was, again, a long time ago people started making these videos, that to define it, it's not even on here. I need to obviously take another video of that then. Great, well, thank you very much for this bit. We're going to crack on to the next game, and as I mentioned, what were those SPIEL.digital's nominees? So here we are, Patchwork was nominated too, got some various, like Cacao I've played as well, and in terms of actually one, it might have been Isle of Skye. It might have been, let's see if we can just check that out. Does it say what it was? It doesn't seem to be telling us right now. But I think it was Isle of Skye in 2005, if not as Codenames, but I think that was the following year. Right, okay, let's crack on to the next one. So we have Zombie Dice. So there have been other variants of Zombie Dice. I think the original is fine. Very quick filler game, very noisy container. I highly recommend you get a bit of foam and it's placed in the bottom of your container. So there are 13 dice and you're going to have 6 which are good, 4 that are okay and 3 which are bad. And what you're doing is shaking these things up, taking out 3 and deciding if you want to continue or basically stick or twist, push your luck game, because if you get brains then that's good. You're trying to shoot those zombies, or maybe a zombie and you're munching on brains. So brains, and whoever says brains the best will start. And if you get brains, you're going to get a point, and the first to get 13 will trigger into that round or into the game. And if you get footsteps, well that's fine, nothing really happened. But if you get 3 sets of footsteps, you've got to roll again. If you get a shotgun or a gunshot, that's not good, 3 of them, and you'll lose your score. That's where you've just banked your points up to. So there's no score pad, and you literally have to make a note of whatever score you're up to. That's where brain tokens and stuff are very useful to try and do a good job for that. So moving on to the next game, this is a variant. So I'm not talking about promos or expansions here, but it's a variant. It is the Russian edition of Evolution. So Evolution is a game whereby you're sort of semi-cooperatively, but typically very much competitively playing either to be a vegetarian or being a carnivore. And typically everyone starts off a vegetarian, lots of food in the watering hole, but eventually you might want to switch to be carnivore, which means you need to eat somebody, including yourself perhaps, to kind of stay alive. Now, the reason about this Russian variant is the fact that the carnivores are even stronger, and the defenders, such as the hard-shelled tortoise, is even stronger too, which I think just lets you really double down on what you're choosing to go for. So yeah, it's a very interesting game. This particular one I give only not standard evolution a 6. Russian evolution much higher than that, obviously based on a 6, and other things I think such as climate, really rounds it off, because you're having to deal with the weather as well as actually fending off and competing against other players. So basically this is what evolution the box looks like, and then if you're looking to go into various different things too, you're having to be aware that you come with these little bags to stash your food in, so you don't know final score until the end. The same with your opponents, and then you're going to make your opponents, also your species, bigger. Maybe you can make them larger, make more of them in their population, and you're going to gather food equal to their body size. Okay, and there we have it. So on to the next game, and we have Hive Pocket. Not Hive, but Hive Pockets. Now Hive Pocket is a smaller version of Hive, if you imagine, called Pocket, and it comes with some extra characters. You also get this ladybird or ladybug if you're in the States, and this ladybird, I'm just going to call it the bug. What that represents, even though it's a British, and I met this guy, British designer, John Yarney from Gen 42 Games, what you're using with this ladybug or ladybird is doing is allows you basically to kind of jump over things and move a bit. I don't think it's essential. I think it's fine without it. Everyone seems to say it's not a decent game unless you play with it. I think it's fine. You can also play Hive Carbon, which are basically black and white versions, which I don't see the point of, to be honest. I think it's nice to see what those colours are and what they represent. But you're trying to swarm and surround your opponent's bee, and you're doing that by the various abilities of your characters. It's an abstract strategy game, and you're bringing more characters onto the board. You can alternate what people do. Very deep game. Lots have been spoken about this game. And if some people who don't like chess, they really do like this game. And I do really, again, apologise for how slow this is to load. Again, I think it's due to the CPU change. Okay, on to the next one, Wizard. This has had thousands of views on the YouTube channel, and it's basically The Crew, but without a logbook, so it came out much earlier. And it's a trick-taking game for 3 to 6 players. Definitely recommend it, 4 or 5. It's a bit repetitive as a 3, and it takes a bit too long as a 6. And what you're doing is using these tropes, these classic Tolkien-style characters. You've got the warrior and the mage and stuff like that. You have the wizard with the Z. You have the Gnar, which is like a jester. And you're trying to predict, based on your cards you have, based on the trick that's coming up, how likely you are to win how many hands. If you get it correct, not only do you get points equal to the trick's 1. Whereas if you get it wrong, you get points equal to the amount of things you're out by. So you'll start off with some negative points, and then obviously you'll start hopefully getting a few hundred points, hopefully. It's a very nice game, and I've mentioned before, I do like the Wizard Extreme, which is almost the inverse of Wizard Try Get Tricks, or you're going to be aware of a second factor, and the Jubilee Edition, which involves having various cards, which are the most extremely powerful card in the game, the Dragon, and the Fairy, which is the worst card in the game, unless you play it after the Dragon, which basically means the Dragon's been nullified. Okay, Architects of the West Kingdom. This was my second favourite game of 2018. It's dropped a bit for me, and the reason for that is literally just go for the Architect track, and you can, I won the game in like 40 minutes. It's a very nice game. I love the artwork. I love the idea of pretty much like it's the game Stone Age, and where you can choose to go and fight and deal with things. It's semi-sandboxy. Like I said, lovely pieces. This one's been pimped out, and I haven't yet tried the Rune Saga stuff too. But yeah, you can choose to go to different locations, and if you go forest, you might get a piece of forest. But if you go there again, you get 2 pieces because you've already got a bit of expertise and experience there. So this is in the West Kingdom trilogy. I've played Paladins. I haven't played Viscounts yet. I haven't tried it solo, but yeah, very much enjoyed it, and quite rightly, it was a winner and also nominated in many different things. So right up next, we have the Quest for El Dorado. This is my favourite games as well of this particular year. It lost out to King Domino for SPIEL.digital, which I completely agree with. It's a game I didn't even hear about until King Domino was nominated, and this game initially only came out in German, so it was much harder to get compared to Magic Maze as well, and it's designed by a German, Dr. Rainer Knizia, who's made over 660 plus games. And it's a race deck building game. There are games like Clank, which do a great job too, and I'm just going to show you what some of these pictures look like. So in this instance, you've got these different cards you can go towards. You're going to start, say, here and work towards wherever the finish is. And there's various terrains you have to get through. There's water, you might try and get past people and try and race and grab some extra points in different locations. And it's just a very, very fun game. There's a few different re-releases and expansions which I haven't tried out yet, very keen to, and I've heard it even potentially improves on this game, but that's always to be debated until I try it. So that is the quest for El Dorado. Up next we have Carrera, the Palaces of Carrera. So I've got an image ready to show in a moment. This is a rondel game. We've talked about Michael Keesing and Wolfgang Kremen before, and that was in the last video in particular, I believe. And in this instance, we're talking about the Palaces of Carrera, which is all around the marble in Carrera in Italy. And it's a Euro game, it involves this rondel. And let me show you a picture. You have this rondel here, which unfortunately is a bit blurry, but it's the best I can do. It's only the decent image, to be honest, on this site, which shows you anything like this. I have played it on Board Game Arena, and it's fine, although it makes me think that it actually isn't as good as game as I thought it was, so I do recommend you try it in person. And you have your own board, they're all identical, and you're going to have this resource track, and as this moves around, resources get cheaper. I made the mistake in the first couple of games of actually going for the exact resource needed, but you can go for more expensive stuff, which can be better. And you're kind of racing compared to getting these different things here. And basically these are values 1 to 9, 1 to 8. And what you're looking to do is you have a hidden information of what you have in terms of money and resources. And you're trying to get to these various locations, these various colours, which you give to different points. You're trying to then get a certain amount of each type, or the more you can, the better, because when you score it, you're going to get more of the coins or victory points. Of course, you want coins earlier on. Very clever game. It was nominated for Spiel.digital, and yeah, it's a fantastic game. It was out of print for many years, and I believe it's come back a bit now. Okay, up next, Fields of Arla, also been out of print for a good 6+ years. Z-Man have passed rights back to Feuerland, and again, of all the designers for Uwe Rosenberg's games, this is the one I've probably played the most, one of the most I've played, and it's a game that I've noticed that even though you can only play it 1 or 2, I voted it both best as 1 and a 2, purely based on the solo challenges. Playing on its own, it's just, get the best score you can. Oh, that looks like it's quite cool. There is Arla himself. So this is a kind of semi-autobiographical game because his mother, in particular his parents, grew up in this place called Arla in the north of Germany. And it's an economic game, very similar to the game Feast for Odin, which he made a couple of years later. Patchwork is probably one of his most played games I've played. And we can have a quick look and see whether or not I have played more times than Fields of Arla, which I will be playing more. I'll play that lots more. So this is Arla. This is the place in question, which I've never really been to, but that is the church. As you can see, it's just like it. So you're going to have a board. Your opponent will have a board too. You're going to have various, this is the starting location, excellent art by Dennis Lockhausen. You're going to get points by placing out, say, wood, points for these bigger buildings, points for literally everything, points for sheep, horses, cows. The one you have the least in, you can get 2 points for. If you have the second least of something, you get 1 point for that, and then what you have the most of, you won't score at all. At the end of each summer season, you'll get more flax and more grain, and you could get more wood if you buy a forest. And then you're looking to basically get a lovely little field, improve your dikes, remove some peat. So start off basically with some peat that you're going to flip over, which comes in this location here, and you'll basically save yourself some victory points, because it's -4 if they stay at the end of the game. So you're going to go up this track here. There's one of 15 locations, and you have 4 of your tokens that you can send people off to do, get some clay, maybe get a building for your kind of village. But once you can actually go over here. So once for this season you can go over here, but nobody else can. So your opponent couldn't if that's the case. But if you do that, they then go first the next round if they weren't already. So it's lots of decisions to make a decision on. I prefer it over Feast for Odin. You have wagons and carts to send things off to the village, which are basically this location here. They come from here. And you get some more food because people need to be fed. So it's a very interesting game. I've got videos out, which of course can go in the description. And yeah, I didn't think how much I really like it, but this is really highly rated. It's about 40th on Board Game Geek. And yes, I can fully see why. And of course, it's very high in my list as well. So of course, in the future, I can be doing a list without all my expansions and see where it lands. But that's Fields of Arla. Okay, so we have Unlock Secret Adventures Tombstone Express. Now, I really rate this highly. This is actually probably one I did the best at because sometimes it is hard to get a good score. We happened to play it in the group I played it with very quickly. I think it's the easiest of the one in the Secret Adventures, and it's very nice. Lovely thematic ties into this game too. I don't want to spoil it. And yes, you're going to work through a deck of 60 cards as a team. It's normally 60 cards, and there's lots of puzzles as well. Very much enjoyed it. It's not a long game. I think it's rated as dropped a bit for what it was because it's a relatively short one. But I think it works really effectively. I think it's a shame that people just think just because it's a short one or an easy one doesn't make it a good game. I found it really interesting and I love the theme. I thought it did a great job. I haven't really heard of this designer. I don't know if he's only done unlocks. Looks like he had, but yeah, very impressed. So thank you very much. That is Secret Adventures, and yes, compared to the other ones in Secret Adventures, there's some horrible mistakes in the Wizard of Oz one, and No Side. I don't mind the No Side saga, but for me, yeah, yeah, it doesn't grab me too much. Well, thanks very much. That's again at the end of this particular list, and I hope you enjoy and check out the rest. Thanks very much. All the best. Bye for now.